I had intended to do today's video about Bitcoin. I'm reading a book that one of you suggested I read, and I wish you would comment or email and tell me who it was so I can give you credit. The name of the book is Life After Google. And they have a chapter or two about Bitcoin. So I was going to talk about Bitcoin, but I want to change my direction because I think it's important. As a result of what I've seen happening in the market, particularly yesterday and today, and then I saw it a couple of days last week, and that is the tremendous roller coaster ride that it puts you on, such as yesterday. My portfolio was up 4%, the highest I think I've ever really seen it go up in a single day since the 1st of March. And then I saw it end 3% down. And I knew what was happening, and it didn't bother me. And then I saw it happen again today. And I know that a lot of you are, I don't want to use the word novice, but new investors, and you haven't seen things like this. And it reminded me of a Disney Channel program that my wife and I watched the other night about Yellowstone Park, and Yellowstone Park in the winter, and it focused on a pack of wolves and how these wolves hunted the elk in the park, and how they would separate the herd and seek out the weak and the young and feed on them. And I thought, there's a lot of parallel there as to what's happening in the stock market, because you and I are retail investors, and they call us retail investors because we're not professional. We are not as knowledgeable of some of the people that we're going up against. Another sidelight is, after thinking about this, last night I went to Netflix, and actually I think it was Prime Video, and I found The Wolf of Wall Street. This was a movie that was done several years ago with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it mirrored, I believe it was the 1978 Black Friday, and how it really broke up a lot of brokerage houses, and how Leonardo ends up getting into a pump and dump shop. In fact, he ends up owning a pump and dump shop and grows the pump and dump shop, and feeds off of the fear and the greed of the people. Well, that's what I'm seeing in the market, and what I want you to recognize is happening. 90% of the trades on a day like yesterday, and I suspect on a day like today, are done through algorithmic trading, algorithms. And algorithms are driven by artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is improved through machine learning. And what I want you to think about is that algorithm is that wolf in Yellowstone hunting for the elk, looking for the weak, the young, the unexperienced, and going in for the kill. And that's what's happening in the stock market. So let me kind of describe what that means. Is you have an algorithm that is constantly watching the movement of the market and how you and I and the market reacts to those movements. And they recognize that if they can get it to move so many points down, fear will come into your mind, and that unwanted roommate in your head is going to say, oh my God, my profits are going to go away. I've got to sell. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to sell so they can get the guy sitting next to you to sell, and the guy sitting next to him to sell, and then the guy next to him sitting to sell, and push that price down so that they can come in and gobble it up. And then what they'll do, and if you have access to a charting program, go in on the last couple days and watch Tesla on a minute-by-minute basis. And you will literally see them pushing that price down, finding a bottom, and then bringing it up, trying to, like throwing a line out into the water where you think there are some fish, and putting a nice bait on it and saying, hey, the price is going up now. Why don't you bite on this minnow? And you bite on the minnow and you buy back in, and I'll be damned if they don't jerk that line and pull you in and then take it right back down again. And you'll see they do this maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day. And then by the end of the day, it just kind of settles down because you're worn out. You are just literally worn out. So now go back to the story I was telling you about the elk in Yellowstone Park, and this animal that is probably 20% the size of an elk, and how this animal puts fear into the elk, the wolf puts fear into the elk, the elk panic, and they separate, whereas if they would back their butts up together and put the strongest elk on the outside of the circle, put their young and their weak in the inside of the circle, there is no way in hell that one of those wolves could take on that pack of elk. But that's the issue. They don't do that. They don't stand together and say, screw you, wolf. We're not going to panic. We know what you're doing. We know how you are going to try to feed off of us, but we're not going to let you in. We're going to put our head down. We're going to put our horns down, and you're going to have to come through us. You're going to have to take us on, not as an individual, not as a weak link in the chain, but as the herd entirely. That's the only way this is going to turn out right. Now, how can you know in advance or see what is happening? Put in your charting, in your tracking, the VIX, V-I-X. The VIX, the best way I can describe it, is the fear index within the market. It measures movements and gives you clues as to what the algorithm is seeing. Once the VIX gets over 30, you become vulnerable. They will start feeding. If it stays down in the 20s and in the teens, it's probably a bull market and things are just going to go up. But when it goes above 30, and it gets up sometimes into 80s, when the bears are taken over, and let's change that word. Let's call it the wolves. When the wolves start feeding, you need to get rid of that roommate. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I cover, because I had a roommate, an unwanted roommate, who told me on a regular basis, Carrie, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and you're not worthy of what's happening, and you don't deserve those profits, and you need to get out. Well, I evicted that roommate, and in this book I tell you how to do it, and you can find a link to it below. But truly, I watched it today, and I said, oh, in fact, what I did was I saw the market was going to be up, and I wanted to get rid of my Disney. And I wanted to get rid of my Disney because I live my life on risk and reward. And I saw Disney opening up Disney World, and whoever made that decision for Disney, I think his first name is Bob, just put his job on the line. If, in fact, as a result, 20, 30, 40 people get the virus and they trace it right back to Disney World, and some of them die, that Bob is out of a job. The wolf will come and eat him. When I saw that, I said, they just put their brand in jeopardy. And I don't want to own that stock because it's going to take a dive if that happens. So risk and reward said, I need to get out of it. And I got out of it and made about 6-7% profit on it. And then as then luck would have it, the wolves started to come in, and Square went down, and there is if you look, there is a gap at 106 on Square. Last I looked, it was down to about 116, 114. I don't know that it will get down to 104 or 106 today, but if the wolves come back tomorrow, and I suspect they will, it'll get down to that 106, and I'll be able to double my position in Square. So that's the way you got to look at it. Understand, you are feed. You are a retail investor, and you are feed for the professional investor. And then I think you need to understand there's a level above the professional investor, and that's the algorithm. That's the algorithm who learns from your movements, watches. Again, go find this Disney Channel piece on Yellowstone Park in the winter, and you're going to see the parallels. You're going to see the parallels as to how you, as this massive, what would you guess, 400-pound elk is running for its life from maybe a 60, 70-pound dog? It makes no sense. But what you do makes no sense. You know that Amazon and Tesla and Google and Facebook are the companies of the future. And yet, when the wolves come and threaten your profits, you run. You got to stop it. You got to understand the game that you're playing. And most importantly, you got to learn to manage yourself. You got to learn to manage your mind. Literally, as I watched this happen yesterday, a swing from 4% up on my portfolio to 3% down, I smiled because I knew what was happening. And I wasn't scared. I knew that they were presenting me with an opportunity to beef up my portfolio. In today's mail, I think it's his handle is named Utterly. He wrote me and said, "Terry, your YouTube channel is turning into a morning talk show." And I kind of giggled about that, and I thought, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And I think it's a good thing. I'm here to help you. I was talking to my cousin in Cincinnati today, and he said, "Kerry, why are you still working?" He says, "I know who you are, and I know what you've done. Why are you still working? Why are you still doing this?" And I said to him, "Well, Kenny, I think I'm doing it because I found a group of people who are willing to listen to me. And I was on a death spiral. My mother died when I was 8 years old. My daughter died when my grandson was 8 years old. My daughter came to me when I was 13 years old and told me that she was a reincarnation of my mother, and that if she could live past 29, she'd be okay. When my mother died, and when she was 29, she was diagnosed with cancer, and I went into a death spiral. So you are what keeps me alive. You are the herd of elk that we back our butts together, and we stand shoulder to shoulder, and we drop our heads, and we say, "Come on, give us the best you got," because we can take it. We understand what's happening, and we are a tribe. We are a herd, and we're going to learn from each other, and we're going to gain strength from each other. And you wolves, come on, because you're going to starve this winter. You're not going to feed off of us. Go find a herd of buffalo, or go find good luck with that, or go find a herd of moose, because you're not going to feed on us. Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the tribe, we're a group of people who who share an interest in making money off the stock market and learning off of each other. And if you want to join, our goal right now is to get to 1 million, and then we'll just build a bigger tribe after that. Go to bestofusinvestors.com. Give me your email address. I'll send you out a copy of my morning market plan, and we'll go from there. But I do promise I've got some interesting opinions about Bitcoin and some interesting knowledge that I want to share. And I'd encourage you to go to Prime, but let me give you a fair warning. It's a 3-hour movie. It's called The Wolf of Wall Street. DiCaprio does a tremendous job, but it is very degrading to women. I didn't realize how degrading it was the first time I watched it. Maybe it was because I was younger and all those bare breasts and sharing of fornication turned me on. I don't know, but it's very degrading. But you'll see what pump and dump is all about, and once you understand it, you'll recognize it when it comes your way. And trust me, it will come your way. I get emails from companies that want me to pump and dump you. I'm sorry, leave me alone. The herd won't allow it.